Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today because we're going to uncover a massive, silent threat lurking in greenhouses literally everywhere. But more importantly, we're going to break down a really smart, incredibly profitable solution. Look, if you're a grower, you already know that keeping your crops healthy is the absolute key to your bottom line, right? So today, we're zeroing in on exactly how to protect your harvest, bump up that quality, and seriously boost your ROI. $10 billion to $100 billion. Just let that sink in for a second. That is the staggering estimated global annual loss caused by Botrytis, or as you probably know it, gray mold. It's actually considered the second most economically destructive plant pathogen in the entire world. The financial stakes here are just massive. I mean, in perfect outbreak conditions, this stuff can wipe out 50% of a strawberry crop, and just treating it eats up to 15% of total production costs every single year. So the obvious question is, how on earth do we stop it? Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, the invisible danger in the greenhouse. Second, why just looking isn't enough. Third, smart sensors as a solution. Fourth, detecting dangers before the outbreak. And finally, getting more quality and a better ROI. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the invisible danger in the greenhouse. So we built these perfectly sealed high-tech greenhouses to maximize yields, right? But ironically, they can secretly act as giant incubators for disease. What exactly is Botrytis cinerea? Well, in simple terms, it's a necrotrophic fungus. That basically means it feeds on dying or stressed plant tissue first, and then it aggressively colonizes your completely healthy plants. Its spores are practically everywhere, just waiting for the perfect conditions to wake up. And here's the kicker. If you're growing for export markets that have a strict zero-tolerance policy for visual defects, a single gray spot on a tomato or a berry doesn't just lower your selling price. It means the entire shipment gets completely rejected. No way around it. So what actually wakes those dormant spores up? It's what we call the danger zone. When your greenhouse temperatures are sitting between 15 and 25 degrees Celsius, combined with humidity soaring over 85%, poor ventilation that drives up CO2, and low light down in that dense plant canopy, man, that is exactly when Botrytis thrives. And the really tricky part here? These are the exact natural conditions we see during the cooler, wetter winter months. When you seal a greenhouse tight to keep out that cold night air, you might accidentally be building a Botrytis incubator by morning. Which brings us to Section 2, why just looking isn't enough. For generations, growers have relied on their eyes. A highly trained worker walks the rows, scouting for mold. But there's a pretty fundamental flaw in this approach. Traditional control is 100% reactive. The brutal truth is, by the time Botrytis is actually visible to the human eye, it has already been blasting spores into the air for 24 to 72 hours. At that point, you're already too late, and you are forced to dump money into expensive chemical sprays. Smart monitoring, on the other hand, flips the script. It's proactive. It warns you well before the outbreak happens, which gives you the window to take really simple preventative actions. All right, moving to Section 3, smart sensors as a solution. And this brilliantly illustrates how we move from theory to a real-world solution using the J-Tec LoRa wireless sensor network. The analytics here aren't just a bunch of abstract, confusing numbers on a screen. They actually map directly to the physical plant issues you actually care about, things like fungus, specifically our enemy Botrytis, dryness, and mildew. It basically takes all that invisible environmental stress and turns it into super clear digital insights. Now, to get those insights, the J-Tec system places sensors exactly where the danger starts. We're not just hanging them randomly in the middle of the room. They go right down at the canopy and soil levels to totally eliminate your blind spots. The network uses 2-in-1 sensors for temperature and humidity, 4-in-1 sensors that add CO2 and pressure to hunt down stagnant air, lux sensors to find those dark, damp microzones hiding in the leaves, and soil sensors to make sure your irrigation isn't secretly pumping too much moisture into the air. It's the whole shebang. Let's hit Section 4, detecting dangers before the outbreak. Listen, having data is great, for sure, but having actionable intelligence, that is what actually saves your crop. You absolutely do not need an IT degree to use this stuff. The analytics layer takes all that raw, complicated sensor data and translates it into completely clear, simple signals. It continually evaluates your greenhouse environment against proven Botrytis risk models, and then it just flat out tells you if the situation is okay or if you have a problem. It's incredibly straightforward, which means you get to focus on what you do best, growing, not decoding spreadsheets. Now, if you do want to look under the hood, the predictive data trends are continuously evaluating the environment. When the temperature and humidity lines cross over and enter that danger zone we talked about, the system triggers an alert precisely at the moment the risk begins. And that is long before a single spore even has the chance to germinate. I really want to pause on this quote right here because it perfectly encapsulates the entire philosophy of this technology. Growers need intelligence before the outbreak, not documentation of damage already underway. Think about it. If you're relying entirely on visual scouting, you're literally just documenting damage that's already happened. If you want to survive and actually thrive in zero-tolerance export markets, you absolutely need intelligence beforehand. And finally, Section 5, more quality, better ROI. Let's talk about exactly how this technology improves your bottom line. Picture this super relatable scenario. It's 3 a.m., the temperature drops, the humidity spikes, and your sensors detect that you've entered the danger zone. Bam, you get an alert. You simply adjust the ventilation or bump up the heating. By 8 a.m., when your workers normally clock in to start their visual checks, guess what? There is no mold to find. The infection was completely prevented. You literally just saved an entire export shipment with one single, data-driven adjustment. So the crucial point is this. Smart monitoring doesn't replace your expertise as a grower. Not at all. It amplifies it. By acting early, you unlock some massive ROI advantages. You use way fewer chemical treatments, which obviously lowers your input costs. You get higher marketable yields because fewer plants end up in the trash. And maybe most importantly, you secure your export shipments because you're easily meeting those incredibly strict phytosanitary standards. I want to leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought. Through all of this data, your plants and your greenhouse environment are quite literally speaking to you. They're telling you exactly what they need and exactly when they're in danger. The technology finally exists to translate that language into clear, simple actions that protect your profits. So the only question left really is, are you listening yet? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, here's to a healthier, vastly more profitable harvest.